Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have two clips of entitled defendants who don't think they should have received a ticket, despite plenty of proof that their tickets were valid. In the first clip, the defendant was speeding and had no insurance, all while towing a trailer and while weaving in and out of traffic. He tries to claim that he has a right to travel, and besides, it's not possible for his truck to go that fast. And when things don't seem to be going his way, he claims that this is what always happens to him in court. In the second case, the defendant was pulled over for no seatbelt and no insurance, but he tries to claim that the officer had no probable cause to pull him over, so there must have been another reason, and he tries to imply to the magistrate that he was racially profiled, despite what the computer showed when the officer ran his plates. What does the magistrate think of their claims? Let's find out.
All right, Hunter, what's your last name?
Heidemann.
All right, I do need to take your hat off, though. We are in court.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
That's all right. All right, gentlemen, this is a citation that was issued on April 25th of this year on I-196 there in Ganges Township. It's a citation, two citations, careless driving and no proof of insurance. I no longer have no proof of insurance, so you must have taken care of that. We're only here on the moving violation. On this moving violation, Mr. Heidemann, you need to do one of three things. First is you could admit responsibility to the citation, or two, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation as to how or why that happened. Or three, you wish to contest the citation, in other words, fight the ticket at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
I'm looking to fight the ticket.
All right. Then the first thing I'm going to do is swear you both in.
Informal hearing.
You raise your right hand. Mr. Heidemann, raise your right hand. Swear or affirm any testimony you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Heidemann, it makes a lot more sense for me to start with the deputy. He has the burden to establish to me why you were issued a citation in the first place. But after that, you'll have an opportunity to either ask questions or testify in your own behalf. All right?
If that's how it works, okay.
Deputy, you want to pick up the narrative somewhere where it makes sense? Explain the issuing of this citation.
Yes, sir. So on April 25th, 2024, I was patrolling the area of Ganges Township and Casco Township. I was notified by another deputy on 1916 hours that he was unable to flip around on a vehicle that was speeding on the highway. The deputy advised me that the vehicle was traveling northbound from mile marker 22 at a high rate of speed. At this time, I then was able to position my vehicle on northbound 130, or check that, I'm sorry, on I-196 near the 3-1 mile marker and observed the vehicle identified as a 2014 Chevy pickup truck, silver in color, traveling in the left-hand lane. I then activated my moving front radar and observed reading of 98 miles per hour steady in the left-hand lane on the 2014 silver Chevy pickup truck. The vehicle was cutting in between other vehicles as it was attempting to pass them, passing vehicles on the right as well as cutting into the left lane, tailgating other vehicles, trying to get around them. I continued to follow the vehicle as it continued to travel at 98 miles per hour and it posted in 70 mile per hour zone near the mile marker of the 31 in Ganges Township. I then was able to conduct a traffic stop in a marked patrol vehicle with overhead lights activated on the 2014 Chevy pickup truck. The vehicle did yield to my emergency lights on northbound I-196 and made contact with the driver. The driver advised that he was traveling back to his residence in Grant. He advised that he did not have any insurance during the time of the stop, and I also indicated the reason for the stop. The driver stated that he was just trying to get back home. I provided him with citation number SD 28066 for the careless driving, as well as the no proof of insurance.
All right, Mr. Heidemann, what is it you'd like to tell me?
So all I am wondering is he says I was traveling at 98 miles an hour, except at the scene of the whole, when it all came to fruition, I asked him how fast I was traveling because I wasn't really aware. Yes, I passed a couple cars that were traveling in the left lane. I did pass him on the right. I'll admit to that. But he couldn't give me a speed on how fast I was traveling and speeding, but I'm telling you, I wasn't going 98 miles an hour. So that's why I wanted to fight this ticket. My truck doesn't go 98 miles an hour. I could bring it to you guys and you can test it, whatever. My truck don't go 98 miles an hour.
All right.
So
well,
that's all why I wanted to fight this thing now.
We'll go
He
back
couldn't
to
give
the
me a
deputy and
speed on
have
how
him,
fast I was going.
have him articulate how he acquired that number. Deputy Early, you want to put a little
Okay.
more meat on the bone about how you came up with that number?
Yep. So originally I witnessed the vehicle. Again, it was that 2014 Chevy pickup truck. It was actually towing a trailer in the left-hand lane. I observed the vehicle passing other vehicles. At the time, I then activated my front moving radar and observed readings of 98 miles.
All right.
Multiple.
And
Oh, good.
so that was on your front moving radar. Let me just cycle you through some questions. Did it tone out as well?
Yes, sir.
Did that tone match the number you were seeing?
Yes, sir.
Had you tested that radar at beginning and end of your shift?
Yes, sir.
This is the same thing I go through every time. Every single time.
Your separately calibrated speedometer?
Yes, sir.
I have the right to travel.
Did you have any issues with it at the beginning or after the shift? Mr. Heidemann, I'm asking questions. You're being quiet now. That's how this works. Deputy, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Beginning and after your shift, were there any issues with the radar?
No, sir.
All right. And are you certified to operate that radar?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I will tell you this, Mr. Heidemann, just so you sort of understand how it got to careless. He could have wrote you a speeding citation for 28 over, which is as many points as you'd get for careless anyway. But then he did not write you separate citations for either improper lane use, following too closely. You were doing all this with a trailer and no insurance?
Yeah, I'm a professional driver. I have the right to travel. Speeding, and that is
you're lucky you didn't get a reckless driving, sir. This was enough factors here that you could have got a criminal case instead of just
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I apologize, but this is the same thing I go through every time I've ever dealt with a ticket. Is you got a list you got to read off, and the deputy gets to say his part, and I am guilty until proven innocent by my part. So this country isn't ran the way it used to be. I'll just take my ticket and we can go on from here. I don't want to waste your time.
Then you do need to make arrangements to pay that fines and costs with the district court. But other than that, we are all set. You can go ahead. All right. These are citations from May 15th of this year on Church Street there, City of Wayland. One ticket is for seatbelt violation and the other ticket is for no proof of insurance. So you're here on these citations to do one of three things. First is you could admit responsibility to a citation, or two, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation as to how or why this happened, or three, you wish to contest the citation. In other words, fight it at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
Admit to it with an explanation if possible, sir.
All right. And what is it you'd like to tell me?
Well, I take total responsibility for the fact that my daughter wasn't in a proper seatbelt at the time of the I don't want to say arrest. I didn't get arrested, but
the stop. We just call it a stop.
A stop, yeah.
Traffic stop.
But there was honestly, sir, there was no reason at all for the officer to pull me over at the time. I gave him no probable cause. It was during, I don't know exactly what was going on in Wayland at the time. They were having I don't know if it was a bike rally or something of that nature that was going on. A lot of the roads were blocked off and whatnot. It was multiple cars trailing each other at the time. And at the time, the police officer was even stationary. He was stopped. I proceeded to come to approach a stop sign. Cars were in front of me. Cars were behind me. I drove past the officer. And even when I drove past him, he still didn't come out until after he seen me, he looked at me. And I don't know if I fit the fit the description or someone or
Well,
what?
Mr. Ellis, instead of you guessing, we can ask the officer. He's here. Normally, I'll tell you right now, if they don't see a seatbelt, they'll pull that over every time for what they call click it or ticket. But sometimes it's also because they're just running the plate and the plate comes back. Either you don't have registration or you don't have insurance. But we'll just ask him. He's here. Officer Hudson, what was the initial reason for the stop?
The initial reason for the traffic stop was when I did run Mr. Ellis's plate, it did show that the vehicle was not insured.
Yeah. So in other words, officers just sit there all day long. You know, as soon as they can see a car's license plate, they type it into their computer. The Secretary of State kind of rats you out and will say, hey, there's no insurance registered for this plate number. And then they pull you over every time.
Yeah, no, sir, but that wasn't the case, sir. The officer let, like I say, it was 2 or 3 cars that were in front of me that went past. I approached the stop sign. He notices me and then proceeds to come out. I gave him no reason to come out. He comes out. He runs my plate. I expressed to him that I had insurance, in which I have insurance on the car now.
Well, hold on a second. You're saying he pulled you over before he ever ran your plate. That's not what I heard him say. Let's just ask him. Officer Hudson, what was the issue of why you pulled Mr. Ellis over in the first place?
Because when I ran his license plate, the Secretary of State showed that it did not have insurance.
So I tell you, Mr. Ellis, that's probably the most common reason anybody would ever get pulled over is because they're just sitting there typing your plate in as soon as they can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's to the discretion. Like I say, if that was the case, well, why did I get picked out of getting pulled over? You see what I'm saying?
Because when he typed in the other person's license plate, it said they did have insurance. I don't know. What I'm saying is, sir, you will get pulled over by any police officer anywhere when the Secretary of State reports back there is no insurance affiliated with that license plate.
Well, when I expressed
it has nothing to do with you as the driver, which is, I think, maybe what you're kind of implying here.
Well, yeah, I don't know. What do you call that?
Profiling. Well,
Yeah,
let me ask you a question, Mr. Ellis. If the car in front of you, he runs that plate and there's no problems, and then you show up, then he runs your plate and it says there's no insurance. Which one of those 2 cars do you think he's going to pull over?
Well, here's the thing, sir. Like, and I even expressed this to the officer because I work for Amazon. I have to have insurance. The reason why that he showed in his file or on his computer that I didn't have insurance because I missed a payment. It wasn't that the car wasn't insured. It shows that the insurance was canceled because the payment wasn't made. All I had to do was make the payment.
You better bet your insurance company reports that to Secretary of State about 30 seconds after they do that.
No, sir. I like I expressed to him, once I made the payment, the cancellation is cleared
Ellis,
from.
Then here's what you're saying. What you're saying is that when he ran your plate, he's making it up. The Secretary of State didn't actually have that plate flagged as no insurance. And coincidentally, it just happens you didn't have insurance. That doesn't make any sense. What makes sense is when he ran your plate, Secretary of State ratted you out as no insurance. Otherwise, that's a super good guess on his part that even though it says you have insurance, he just guessed, oh, well, let me pull him over anyway, because I bet that's not true and he really doesn't have insurance. You just need to think about it a little more, sir. I get what you're concerned about, but I'm telling you, I have no concerns about the same thing.
I'm not making this up, sir. I'm giving you the information that was given to me from my insurance company. My insurance company stated that the reason why they're showing that the insurance was not current at the time was because of the lack of payment. As soon as I made the payment, this is what was expressed to me. As soon as I make the payment, my insurance is reinstated.
Sir, what your insurance company tells you would not be the important information. It's what Secretary of State tells you of whether or not you were on the list or not on the list at time of stop. That would be the relevant information. The insurance company could be telling you anything. That's neither here nor there. What the officer's saying is when he runs the plate, comes back no insurance. That has nothing to do with your insurance company. That's all Secretary of State. Now, if the Secretary of State told you, hey, we never had you as no insurance, I don't know what that officer's talking about, then we have an issue with what you're saying. But what your insurance company tells you is neither here nor there, is what the Secretary of State's information had. The officer's not asking,
sir,
not getting information from.
I haven't had any communication with the Secretary of State, but
All right. Mr. Ellis, I'm going to wrap this up because I've been going down this rabbit hole a lot for you. You don't have any contact with Secretary of State about your insurance. That's not what happened. What happened is your insurance company told Secretary of State, hey, that person's no longer insured by us.
I'm fully insured, sir. I have insurance.
That may be the case, but what I'm telling you is what happened in this moment of time when you got stopped is your plate was coming back to his computer, no insurance. And lo and behold, you didn't have proof of insurance, right?
At the time, no, I did not.
At the time.
At the time, no, I did not.
We're all set for what we need to do here. All you need to do is make arrangements to pay those fines and costs, though. Otherwise, we're all set for what we need to do in court.
Well, I still, even though I have full coverage right now, I still have to pay $200 for no proof of insurance citation.
Well, sir, the problem is on May 15th at 6:09 p.m. you did have insurance. That's what it is that we're dealing with. That I have to decide whether or not at that moment in time he's right in issuing you a citation. You may have fixed it since then.
I'm sorry, sir. Your volume is low on your end, sir. I can barely hear you.
Okay. Executive branch writes you a citation. Judicial branch, what I would have to decide is not whether or not you fixed it and you have insurance now. I have to decide whether or not on May 15th at 6:09 p.m. you had insurance.
Well, typically, as long as I show good faith in that I have full coverage on my vehicle, they waive those charges, sir.
Who are you talking about? I'm the one that would be waiving the charges.
I'm sorry?
Who is it that you're talking about that typically would waive your charges?
Courts. This isn't the first. This isn't. I've been in a particular instance like this before where I had to clear it up, sir. I've been in. This isn't. I'm 43 years old. I've been in a situation like this before. And I mean, like I said, I'm coming to you in good faith, letting you know that my car is fully insured. I'm owning responsibility for the seatbelt violation. I don't mind compensating for the seatbelt violation, but I mean, I don't understand why I have to pay for a vehicle that has insurance.
Well, first of all, now you're asking for mercy from the court. The whole first half of this conversation is you're telling me I have an officer in Wayland that's pulling you over, profiling you because of your
I still feel strongly about that, sir. I still feel strongly about that. Like I say, I would have to put you at the scene of the incident for you to kind of understand where I'm coming from.
Okay, but listen to me, sir.
Even pull out on me.
Listen to me, sir. You made your decision that that's how you want to do it.
He pulled out on me for no absolute. I wasn't speeding. I used my blinker. I didn't give him any probable cause to even get behind me.
We're all set. I was going to explain it to you more, sir, but if that's how you're going to handle yourself, we can just finish. You admitted responsibility to those citations, sir. You owe the fines on both those citations. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All I can do is try.